dear friends. In today's gospel, Jesus says, you must love the Lord your God with whole your heart and your whole soul, and love your neighbor as yourself. There are no greater commandments than these. We would all say amen to that. But how committed are we in leaving this out? When we think of loving God, we might first consider worship and prayer. But truly loving God goes beyond private moments of devotion. It is about aligning our entire lives with His will. Every choice, every act, every word we speak can become a form of worship when it stems from a deep desire to reflect God's love. This kind of love is not easy. It calls for commitment, discipline, and often self-sacrifice. Loving God fully means living with integrity even when no one is watching, and choosing His path even when it goes against popular opinion. As challenging as it is to love God fully, it can be even harder to love our neighbors as ourselves. Today, divisions run deep, and it is easy to see our neighbors as those who disagree with us, as strangers, or even as obstacles. So, who is our neighbor? A neighbor is anyone who crosses our path, our spouse, our children, friends, the people next door, or even the stranger beside us. Jesus calls us to widen our view of who is deserving of love and see everyone as a neighbor, as part of His family. Erich Hofer, a famous philosopher from San Francisco, once wrote, "It is easier to love humanity as a whole than to love one's neighbor." When Jesus tells us to love our neighbors as ourselves, He is asking us to recognize their needs, their pain, and their humanity as we do our own. Mother Teresa of Calcutta shared a story in her autobiography that captures who our real neighbor is. One night, a man came to her to tell her about a family with 8 children who had not eaten for days. Mother Teresa took enough rice for a meal and went to their house, where she saw the hungry faces and bulging eyes of the children. The children's mother took the rice, divided it in half, and went out. When she returned, Mother Teresa asked her, "Where did you go? What did you do?" She answered, "They also are hungry." They were the people next door, a family with the same number of children and no food. The mother that Mother Teresa had given the rice was aware of her neighbor's situation and had the courage and love to share her meager portion of rice. Despite her own hardship, she was joyful to share what little she had. A few days ago, we celebrated the feast of All Saints. Who are the saints? They are lovers of God and neighbors, as Christ calls us to be. They are holy because they showed mercy, made peace, and hungered for justice, all in love and for love. They believed that when love begins to fade, holiness degenerates. We are called to become saints, and we can because saints are ordinary people like you and me. When we look around, we recognize that each person, each neighbor in our lives carries hopes, dreams, and burdens. And as God's children, we are called to be instruments of love and compassion for each one of them. Our families may be our first and closest neighbors, but Jesus teaches us that neighbor extends beyond the walls of our homes and beyond those who share our values. So, dear friends, what does it mean to love our neighbors in all their diversity and uniqueness? It means seeing their needs and caring enough to respond. It means forgiving when we would rather hold a grudge, offering patience when we are tempted to be short-tempered, and lending a hand even when it is inconvenient. We are invited to treat others as we wish to be treated, to see their values in God's eyes, and to be present with compassion. Jesus calls us to love with humility, kindness, and a heart willing to serve. This love transforms us. It brings us closer to God and opens our lives to His grace. It reminds us that every person who enters our life is there for a purpose. Sometimes for us to help, sometimes to challenge us, and always to be loved. Amen.